Hi everyone, it's Chenso from Reality Art Pod here for night 10 of the Survivor 50 Classic Episode Marathon. Tonight we're watching Survivor Season 48, Episode 12, titled Icarus Time, keeping an eye on Season 50 players Joe, Camilla, and Kyle. If you like this video, you'll love my same-day recaps of the Survivor 50 episodes, so consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. But let's dive into it. Here's where we're at. Last week, Mary was voted out for having poor coconut etiquette, and David made his last stand in her honor. Following the Mary boot, the final six returned to camp. We've got Mitch, Kyle, Camilla, Joe, Eva, and Shaheen. Mitch tells us he's been waiting to get to final six. Now he's ready to finally make his move that he's been saying he's gonna make for a few episodes. Eva has an idol, but she feels good about her position. She's in a four-person alliance with Kyle, Joe, and Shaheen, and no one's really ever come for her. Joe wants to stay strong in the four-person alliance and just vote out either Camilla or Mitch. The complication is Kyle has a secret partnership with Camilla and isn't as loyal to the group as they think. Kyle tells us he wants to start playing more with his head. The next day, Le Frog, they get treatment about their challenge. Shaheen says he hopes it's not another upper body challenge, telling us he thinks his legs should be in a museum. Mitch has woken up today really wanting to play the game, approaching Shaheen, telling him Joe is playing the best game and he can't go to the end with Joe. Shaheen thinks he himself is playing the best game, so he's not really caring who he goes to the end with. Kyle and Camilla meet. Camilla wants to target Joe, seeing him as the biggest threat. Camilla senses Kyle's hesitancy, but is still gonna try. They head to their challenge out in the water in the rain. Shaheen shows off his gams with a little hop. They'll be laying on an angled board, holding themselves up with handholds at their sides. The last player hanging wins reward of a night at the sanctuary with burgers, beer, wine, cheesecake, and letters from home. Must be a shortage of helicopter rides these days. So they get started. Dare I say, this challenge looks easy. This rack would fix my back. Shaheen tells Jeff he has a ganglion cyst in his wrist, but he's motivated to hang on by letters from his mom. He continues to lament his ganglion cyst, but nevertheless, he persists. Camilla mocks sleep and snores. Love that confidence. As they get to the smallest handhold, Camilla falls first, followed by Mitch. Jeff is loving a new word he learned, kerplunk. This episode should have been called kerplunk. Eva is disqualified, and Joe drops out soon after, concluding with a showdown between Kyle and Shaheen that Shaheen eventually wins, and does an impressive dive with minimal splash. Love that kind of stuff. Shaheen shares that watching the show with his mom helped him to connect with her, so he's excited to get his letter. He gets to choose two players to join him, selecting his California girl Joe and Kyle. They head to the sanctuary where they stuff themselves with wine, beer, burgers, and cheesecake. The gas these three must have must be a symphony. They're having a blast and get their letters. Shaheen's from his mom. He calls it Survivor Euphoria. Joe's letters from his son. Joe's son tells him he believes in him. Isn't it amazing how some supportive words from people you love can help motivate you? Kyle's dad writes a heartfelt message that he's proud of him. And so they all bond here with Shaheen having lost his father and Joe having lost his father and sister. Joe is still struggling with having an argument with his sister right before he lost her to domestic violence. So he's trying to process his grief and regret. Back at camp, players are wet and hungry. Mitch is annoyed that Shaheen chose to feed Joe and strengthen him even more. Camilla annoyed, same reason, telling us Shaheen can go if Joe wins immunity. Eva feels like she's stuck at home with the elderly, missing her friends and bored out of her mind. At the sanctuary, Shaheen and Joe get a chance to talk. Shaheen is testing the idea of taking Kyle out with Joe, but Joe doesn't want to hear it yet, though Joe does want a final three of he, Shaheen, and Eva. Joe isn't giving Shaheen anything to work with, so Shaheen tells us he's considering going ham in the game, wondering if it's going to be go time or Icarus time, where he'll fly too close to the sun. Oop, he said the thing. He talks to Kyle, putting feelers out there to make a move. Kyle tells us he's wary of Shaheen. He knows Shaheen wants to do something. Shaheen is dropping hints that they can't beat Joe. Shaheen says their best move is to take out Eva with her idol at final six. Kyle feels that Shaheen, even considering turning on the alliance, gives him the permission to do whatever he wants at this point, and he wants to make his move on Shaheen. The reward players get back to camp. Kyle quickly connects with his secret ally Camilla, telling her he has a plan to get them ahead and undermine Joe's game in front of the jury. His plan is to tell Joe that Shaheen is planning to take Eva out of the game to get Joe to come for Shaheen. Kyle also wants to tell Joe that Shaheen showed Camilla an idol and have Camilla confirm it happened. Camilla thinks the plan is genius and she would never have come up with it herself. So the plan to trick Joe and frame Shaheen begins. But first, Joe takes a moment to head to the beach alone and connect with his sister, speaking to the spirit of his sister and apologizing for the things he said to her, forgiving her in return, and saying he loved her. That was a sweet moment. Players head to their immunity challenge. You know I love these barrels. Sorry, Camilla, that thing's up for grabs. Players will fling a sandbag to release a rope, use their rope to assist in their barrel roll, crawl under the net, and navigate their balls across a snake track. The first player to finish will win immunity and move on to the top 5. They get started. I think I'm gonna buy a barrel and ride it around my backyard, honestly. Shaheen and his legs of steel were born to ride that barrel, getting him to an early lead and to the snake maze first, with Joe and Kyle on his tail. But Joe is steady as can be. Zen King has been well fed physically, mentally, spiritually this whole episode. You know what? Mitch was right about the reward choice. Joe locks clocks in his second ball and wins his fourth individual immunity, which he dedicates to his sister. Back at camp, Kyle is ready to execute his plan on Shaheen, starting with talking to Joe, telling Joe that Shaheen flipped and that Shaheen showed Camilla an idol. Joe isn't gullible. He does question why Kyle is coming to him with this, and takes time to think about it, acknowledging in confessional that it could be a complete lie. So Joe brings this to Eva to unpack, and to try to sort out who's lying to him. Eva says she gets a better vibe from Kyle than Shaheen. Then Joe talks to Camilla, who takes her shift at lying. Camilla confirms that Shaheen showed her an idol. Camilla tells us she loves running people over with the bus repeatedly. A karmic branch falling almost squashes Camilla mid-lie. Joe tries to get Shaheen to fess up, but Shaheen doesn't. There's not a lot to fess up to. Joe is dancing around it, trying to mind game Shaheen into confessing something, and this is just a tense conversation where Shaheen tells Joe he's acting like Shaheen shit in his pancakes. They make no progress. Shaheen tells us that Joe has no right to be mad right now. He's safe to Final Five and is walking around with massive pecs. He should be happy. So Shaheen is really annoyed with Joe, venting to Kyle about it, who assures Shaheen, it'll be just fine. Just fine, Shaheen. Don't worry. Don't worry. Ahead of Tribal, Joe is still conflicted and wondering if Kyle and Camilla are lying to him. He tells us he's going to try to figure it out at Tribal. So to Tribal they go. Mitch tells Jeff he's just hoping he's not going home. Eva hopes she can trust the people she's working with. Camilla and Kyle are very careful with their answers, which is good for them because Joe is staring daggers into everyone to spot who's lying. What they're saying doesn't matter, to the extent that the edit muffles everything everyone's saying to hone in on Joe's spidey senses. This was a fun edit because the monologues Kyle and Shaheen are going on are pretty boring. They get to vote, Joe has to pick a side. No advantages or idols are played. Jeff reads the votes. There's 2 votes in that thing for Mitch, from Eva and Shaheen, and 4 votes for Shaheen, from Kyle, Camilla, Mitch, and Joe. So Shaheen is voted out here, who was playing a great game, always in alliances. He seemed to know the right thing to do. Even in this episode, he was weighing out his options and trying to play a self-interested game. But in doing that, he gave Kyle a reason to turn on him. I saw him as a winner contender for most of the season and feel he brought a lot to the table by way of creating the culture of the season, where he was often chanting and being referential to Survivor. I don't know if Jeff ever chants fried chicken and waffles if Shaheen isn't there. Looking at our 50 players, we saw Camilla doing her thing, running that bus back and forth over Shaheen. Otherwise, not too much Camilla content outside of her meetings with Kyle and participation in the lies to Joe, which was a major game move, but was more understated on her end. Her main role was corroborating Kyle's story, and Kyle, who was the main driver of the strategy this episode, going on the reward and figuring out what they needed to do to frame Shaheen, which was a genius operation that is underrated. I like that Kyle is both very game body but also sensitive. He shares a lot about himself, which helped him to build that bond with Joe. Though coming into 50, if I were Joe, I would be more salty at Kyle than Camilla because this was his idea. This episode acts as a great character study on Joe, tracking him going from the reward, getting letters from his family, having the moment on the beach about his sister, to being gaslit by half the tribe and not knowing who to believe. In my memory, Joe is being tricked much more than he was. He knows that someone's lying to him and does consider that Kyle and Camilla could be lying, but he makes a bad judgment call and gets undermined, makes the wrong read at Tribal, and this round probably does cost him whatever win equity he had. I think he's very likely to encounter dilemmas like this, probably worse on season 50. But that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the episode, Shaheen's boot, and Joe, Camilla, and Kyle. This may be the end of the classic episode marathon, but if you like these videos, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back on Wednesday for the Survivor 50 premiere recap. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.